22 years ago, I was diagnosed with incurable stage 4 cancer. No cure, no treatment, just 10 years to live, if I was lucky. But here's what no one expected. I'm still here. And the most important thing that I've learned has nothing to do with medicine. It's this: you don't have to be cured to start living. And maybe you're not dealing with cancer. Maybe you're waiting to be cured from something else, cured of anxiety or burnout or doubt or whatever it is. Maybe you're waiting for the moment you can finally feel ready. But what if you don't need to be better to begin? People are often surprised that I've lived this long with stage 4 cancer, and I get it. But my cancer is very rare, and thankfully it has been slow growing, and that could change, but right now it is still slow growing, and that's played a really big role in my longevity. But so has living in a way that supports my body, my nervous system, and my spirit. I don't have a finish line. I still live with stage 4 cancer. And walking this path has taught me something that might just help you too, whether you're living with an illness or you're just living with uncertainty, which is the human condition. Have you ever had a moment when you're facing the same struggle that you thought you'd already worked through, and you're like, oh, wait a second, hang on, didn't I deal with this already? The same fear shows up, the same pattern plays out, and you think, seriously? Didn't I grow? What am I freaking missing? Well, I used to think that too, but I've come to understand that it's not always a sign that you're stuck. Sometimes we come back around because we're evolving. We're actually ready to see whatever it is from a new angle. Healing isn't a straight line. It's like orbiting. You revisit the same emotions, the same questions, the same wounds, and each time you come back around with a little bit more awareness, a little more compassion, and a lot more tools. So if an old pattern shows up again in your life and you start to feel bad about yourself, I want you to remember this video. I want you to pause and remind yourself, I am not supposed to be beating myself up right now, okay? You're not back where you started. You're just seeing it differently, okay? You're orbiting. You're ready for more. You're ready to go deeper. And that's what growth looks like. If you're new to me, hi, I'm Chris Carr. I'm a New York Times bestselling author, wellness coach, and cancer thriver. And as I said earlier, I have been living with stage 4 cancer for 22 years. And along the way, I have taught millions of people how to take care of themselves with more compassion, more clarity, and more courage. And what I'm sharing here isn't just about illness, it's about life. And I hope it gives you something that you can use whatever you're carrying. At many cancer hospitals, there's this beautiful bell ringing ceremony when treatment ends. Doctors, nurses, family, everyone gathers to celebrate that a patient has made it through. You get to check the survivor box, and I love that for people who get to experience it. But what about the people who don't fit in those boxes? There's no bell to ring when you're still living with disease. No checkbox for still here, still figuring it out. And that really messes with a culture that loves tidy labels: healthy, sick, winner, loser. So for years, I tried to squeeze myself into a survivor box. I did everything that I could to support my health, mind, body, and spirit. And I actually started thriving, but it still didn't feel good enough. I wasn't in remission, which to me meant I was failing, which also meant I wasn't enough. Then the 10-year mark came, a milestone that, as I shared earlier, I was never supposed to reach. My scans were stable, which meant that they hadn't changed. The tumors, which I have many, had not grown. My doctors were thrilled. My family and friends were celebrating. The only one who wasn't celebrating, who wasn't even happy, was me. Because even though things look good on paper, great actually, I didn't feel free. Stable didn't feel like living. It felt like waiting for the next blow. And that's when it hit me. I had been doing all of this work from a place of fear. I wasn't healing. I was hustling, trying to fix myself, trying to chase that finish line that might never come. I remember on the drive home, this one thought landed harder than probably my diagnosis did. What if I live a long life with cancer, but I miss out on all the magic because I'm too busy trying to be cured? I could not live with that kind of regret. And I turned to my husband while he was driving, and I remember saying, "Babe, I quit." And he looked at me a little panicked, like, "What do you mean you quit?" And I laughed and I said, "No, not like that. I quit trying so hard to be cured. I quit chasing perfection. I quit blaming myself for being sick. I quit measuring my worth by my lab results. And I stopped doing healthy things for cancer, and I started doing them for me because I deserve to feel good, and so do you." And that's when I finally understood the difference between curing and healing. So curing happens in the body, healing happens in the soul. Curing is physical, and that may or may not happen. Doesn't mean that we're failing if it doesn't. Healing is spiritual, and it is always available. And just like love, healing never ends. In fact, we can be healing and dying at the exact same time. So while there was no bell for me, there was a shift from surviving to actually living. And it didn't come from some big breakthrough. It came from small choices over and over and over again. And I want to share some of those with you in this video. So here are 3 shifts that made a huge difference. Shift number 1. I started talking to myself like someone I loved. So one of the biggest shifts I made was this. I started talking to myself like someone I loved. Not just when I was proud of myself, but especially when I wasn't. Because for a long time, I didn't even notice how cruel I could be inside my own head. That voice, the one that told me I wasn't doing enough, I wasn't healing fast enough, I wasn't showing up well enough, it was relentless. And it was so familiar, like it had been narrating my life forever. But just because it was loud didn't mean it was true. And if I truly wanted to heal, I had to start listening to a different voice. So I began asking myself this simple, really powerful question. What would love say? When I felt like I was failing, what would love say? You're not failing. You're just overwhelmed. When I was spiraling about what I hadn't done, what would love say? You're doing the best you can. When I felt unworthy of rest or joy, what would love say? You don't have to earn peace. And here's what else I started doing. I stopped obsessing over everything that was wrong with me, and I started to pay attention to everything that was right. Because there's so much right with us, me and you. Your body, even when it's struggling, is coordinating over 30 trillion cells to keep you alive. You breathe, digest, detox, and repair all without even having to think about it. Your brain, even when it's anxious or foggy, is still processing millions of signals a second to help you stay safe, to help you make decisions, and to help you adapt to change. And your heart, even when it's under strain, even when it's sad, it's beating around 100,000 times a day to circulate oxygen and nutrients, supporting every other system in your glorious body. So, my friends, you are not a problem to solve. You are a miracle to care for. Shift number 2. I let myself feel 2 things at once. Okay, what the heck does that mean? I stopped waiting to have it all sorted out before I could take a step forward. Sometimes it's really hard to fathom how we can hold opposite feelings at the same time, but we do. I am healthy and I have cancer. I am a life-loving person and I have a lot of anxiety. I am big-hearted and I am self-protective. I am successful and I am very unsuccessful at so many things, both and. And I bet you have your own version of that. Maybe you're still grieving what didn't work out. Maybe you're rebuilding after a breakup and you're feeling strong, but you're also feeling totally unsure of yourself at the same time. Or maybe you're a new parent and you adore the child that you work so hard to have, but you also miss who you used to be. That's the both and it's a sign of emotional capacity. 2 things can be true at once, and your heart is wise enough to hold the contradiction. All right, shift number 3. I lowered the bar. So all the crush it warriors out there, they may not like this, but I didn't lower the bar because I stopped caring. I lowered it because I wanted to keep going. Wellness is a marathon. It's a practice. But there was a time when I believed that doing more was the best thing that I could do. So if my doctor said go this far, I would go 3 times farther. More effort, more progress, right? Wrong. Eventually, I burned out. So I decided to take a very different approach, and I let good enough be good enough. One breath, one bite, one kind choice. No overwhelm. Okay? And sometimes that doesn't mean it's one day at a time. Sometimes it means it's just one step at a time, because sometimes a full day is way too much, but one step, it's always doable. But when the bar is too high, we don't always feel inspired. Instead, we sometimes feel really ashamed of ourselves for not being able to meet it. So now my mantra is simple, and I want to share it with you in case it helps. Lower the bar. In fact, you can let the bar be on the floor if it needs to be. Trip over it if you have to. Just keep moving. 10 minutes of movement, it counts. A calming breath before a stressful meeting, it definitely counts. The goal is to make taking care of yourself doable enough so that you'll actually stick with it. So if this stirred something in you, I made a free tool that I hope will help. It's called Unstuck and Unstoppable, and it is a 5-minute guided journaling session designed to help you get out of your head and back into your life. It's part writing, it's part coaching, and it's part hug. So just click the link below and grab it. Again, it's totally free. All right, my friends, let's recap. You don't have to be cured to live a meaningful life. You don't have to be over it to move forward. And you definitely don't have to feel ready to begin. If all you can do today is speak to yourself with kindness and take one doable step, that is more than enough. I'll see you next time.